Howdy, gamers! It's me, and we got Carter here.
Okay,
That guy from Placid Entertainment.
who is me?
I don't know who is you.
Well,
We're here to talk about the 100 Line
as
Last
as in
Defense
say
Academy.
as in say your own name, James.
Who is me? Oh, well, everyone knows who I am. I don't need to introduce myself.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess you are one of the biggest people on the channel now.
No, I was just saying everyone on planet Earth knows who I am. I'm kind of a big shot. You wouldn't get it.
Oh, I forgot that you are just like Nicolas Cage in that one movie where he
Yeah,
appears in everyone's dreams.
yeah. I'm like the main character. But just in case you guys don't know, I'm James, also from Placid Entertainment. We're here to talk about the 100 Line Last Defense Academy. A little unusual for this channel, but it's a game me and Carter both played and really enjoyed, so we wanted to
It's
talk about it.
unlike the things that Ransom likes to cover. It's a real video game.
Yeah,
I think
we play real video games, like visual novels, me and Carter. So
we
those
don't
are
play
just
we don't play fake video games like that Donkey Kong Bonanza thing.
yeah, we play games that require skill and passion and but we could talk about that all day. We all know that. But talking about 100 Line, we wanted to just kind of discuss our feelings with the games and also throw in a couple tier lists. We're gonna try to rank the characters and also our experience with the roots of the game. But before we get to that, I'll give you a
Yeah.
little intro because I'm sure there are some people watching this who either haven't played 100 Line or it's been a long time or they've just heard of it and they don't know much. If that's
Yeah,
okay with you, Carter.
yeah, we were really wanting to just record something to get our thoughts down on this game because it's been consuming both of our brains for like what 3 or 4 months now.
Several months.
It's an insane, absolutely insane video game.
Yes, also very long. So
Yes.
the short of it, and I'm gonna keep this as brief as I can, as we discuss the game and its roots, we'll get into more detail, of course. But the game for layman's is basically you will play as a character named Takumi Sumino, who's a teenager who lives in a walled-off city. I think it's called the Tokyo Complex. It's got a longer name,
Tokyo
but
Residential
uh,
Complex.
yeah, yeah. So he lives in the complex with his friends, or his friend, and suddenly it's attacked by weird monsters. Uh, he doesn't know what's going on. People are getting hurt, and a weird little mascot character, a little guy in a little hat, he shows up. His name is Sirei, and he says, "Hey, Takumi, here's a cool sword. Stab yourself with it, and your blood will come out and give you cool superpowers. It's called Hemo Anima. It'll give you cool powers." Takumi's like, no, that's stupid. But he gets attacked by monsters. He has to do it. He stabbed himself to protect his friends, and his blood comes out. It gives him cool powers. He transforms and he gets cool abilities and he
Very
defeats the
edgy,
monsters.
very cool.
Yes, very flashy scene. Uh, the game jumps forward a little bit. He passes out, wakes up in what seems to be a school. And
He,
Sirei, the mascot, tells him, and several other people who've gathered there, all young people, he says, "Hey, I've gathered you all in this school-like place. It's more like a fortress,
the
and I need
kids.
you all to defend." Go on.
Well, first the kids all in unison say, "Wow, this shot looks incredibly like the hit video game Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc.
Yeah,
It's framed
TM.
the exact same way."
Yeah, I'll get more into the behind-the-scenes stuff afterwards. But yeah, so a group of young people are gathered in this school-like place, and Sirei says, "Hey, this." So basically, this school is acting as a fortress to defend your homes. It's the last line of defense for humanity, really, and you need to defend it from monsters for 100 days. We have something inside that will defeat the monsters once and for all, but we'll get to that later. For now, I just need you guys to defend this place for 100 days. If you can do that, all will be good. And obviously, the students have several questions they don't get answered, but that's the general premise: is you and this new group of ragtag people you've never met before, all with super cool blood superpowers based on your personalities. You get to fight off monsters for 100 days while simultaneously, growing closer to these people, trying to solve the mystery of what's going on, and get to the bottom of why all this is happening. And naturally, a game like that, especially with who was working on it, has all sorts of plot twists and goes all kinds of
Yeah.
directions pretty much immediately.
The game starts off very deceptively simple, where it does kind of give you some like base, like establishing facts, just to kind of almost as like a tease, just to kind of make you go like, huh, that's it, you say? Um,
Mhm.
and obviously a lot of the appeal is kind of the mysteries and questions that you will have as you go throughout the story.
Yeah. Now, for it to this next part, I was gonna say I can't remember how many hours you have in the game, Carter. For
I
me, it's nearly 200.
Yes, and that is, you did a 100% run, didn't you?
Yes, I completed the game completely. Carter's done a good
I
portion of
would
it.
say I have done
Booty
60
endings.
I have done 60 to 75% of the available routes.
Yeah.
This, being a
And
visual
what?
novel, it has routes.
Yes. What he
And
means by that specifically, and what I haven't gotten to,
well,
is
and
that at a certain
can
point
I give my
you can
total
start making.
playtime?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So I'm looking now at my Steam, and the total playtime clocks in at 143.7 hours. So
Good lord.
it's definitely getting up there. A little
I think
bit.
mine was like 180 something. Uh, but yeah, so at a certain point in the story, you get to start making choices, which will branch the narrative. And it doesn't just these aren't just little choices that like might have a little effect or create a couple endings. No, this game is famous slash infamous for having 100 unique endings, and approximately 21 routes that are all various branches. They're all completely different. They're
Very
genre shifts even.
they
Some routes are practically different games from the other routes.
Yes, some of them just totally throw a curveball at you and turn the story into something completely different that you wouldn't have ever expected, especially like when you
Yeah.
were making the choice beforehand.
Oh yeah, choices can lead down roads you never imagined. Some choices, like, let me give you a couple examples. Just you could have a choice that leads the story to being sort of like a shonen fantasy, action story where you beat the bad guys, or your choice might lead to a horrific route where you're all being chased by a serial killer, or maybe it'll be a happy little romance. Maybe you'll grow closer to your comrades and it'll become a silly fantasy, romantic high school drama story where you're trying to find who your crush is. Depending on how you play the game, the story, the genre, the tone, everything will shift drastically. Uh, and like I said, lead to 100 unique endings.
Yeah, it's
This game has quite a lot of content, and the amount of text and voice acting is overwhelming.
I believe that they have said when taking a look at the I believe when they've took a look at the total word count, it is the equivalent of 60 Bunko paperback novels, which is those are around usually 200 pages, I believe. So this is a
It's
towering work. Like,
yeah.
this is probably the equivalent of like reading all of the Higurashi or Umineko visual
Oh yeah.
novels.
Now I will say you don't have to get all those endings, of course. There's an ending you can get. There's sort of a main ending, I guess you could say. But the game's designed where whichever ending satisfies you the most, like that's your ending. You finish this game when you're ready to finish this game.
I
And it
bel
will of course reward you if you play more endings, but you don't have to. This is not a game where you have to play 200 hours to enjoy your time.
Yes, I believe that the devs had said like there's no canon ending. It is just whichever ending you get to that makes you like the most satisfied.
Right.
Um,
Some endings are more
we
satisfying than
will
others, that's for sure.
we will come back to this later, because
Mm.
James has already said something that I believe to be a lie, having played the game. There are certain details where the devs will say things about the game, and it it is a lie.
The last thing I say before we move on is the reason I looked at the game at all was so it's got two main people on this game. There's Kodaka, who's famous for creating the Danganronpa franchise. years ago, and there's also Uchi Koshi, who created the Zero Escape and the Eye of the Somnium Files franchises. Those are pretty popular, especially in visual novel ADV spheres. But just in general, they're really fun time. I almost actually didn't play this game. I kind of just had it on the side. I looked at it and said, "Yeah, that just looks like they're making a bunch of stuff to try to see what sticks on the wall." I don't know if that's for me. But shortly before it came out, I was like, wait a minute. I kind of love all the games these guys have ever made. I really should give it a look. And I did, and I ended up loving it. Carter has played a lot of the games from at least Uchikoshi.
I have
So he
played
was also
the Zero Escape trilogy and all of the Somnium Files games except for No Sleep for Kaname Date. And yeah,
right.
so I remember seeing the announcement trailer for this game on a Nintendo Direct, and my interest was definitely piqued when I saw that this is a joint effort between Kodaka and Uchikoshi. I
Yeah,
really, really like Uchikoshi, with some reservations.
yeah. They're
And I
they're
hadn't
both
ever,
insane writers.
yeah, I had never gotten a chance to play a Kodaka game yet. He's kind of a blind spot I have, and I figured this would be a good opportunity. The only thing is, I watched that first trailer, that release trail, not the release trail, but the announcement trailer, and was just kind of like, huh. I wasn't super hooked at first glance. I didn't really like the art style. Something about it just looked kind of generic to me. It felt like it was lacking a bit of flair. So
Yeah,
I wasn't going to completely write it off, but there wasn't anything that was super hooking me until I end up either James mentioned it to me or I asked him about it, and he ended up telling me like, "Oh, it's actually genuinely fantastic."
yeah. I knowing how insane these writers are, I was very curious to see what kind of ways the story would go. And knowing at like 100 endings, apparently they got a lot of different writers on it to do that. Yeah, I definitely had to check it out, and I'm glad I did. So for anyone who's like doesn't want the game like spoiled or just curious now or whatever, I do recommend giving it a look. It's on Switch and Steam. I recommend the Steam version, of course, because it's going to be higher quality. But yeah, it's on there. If you're curious about the gameplay, it would say like tactics RPG, I guess. It's pretty simple. I think anyone could play it. But
I
if you
would
need a comparison, I would compare it sort of like it's a sort of a mix between Danganronpa's social elements and Fire Emblem gameplay, if anything. Sort
I
of
would say
top
instead of
down.
Fire Emblem, the closest comparison I have, funnily enough, is another visual novel hybrid. The I feel like the combat sections of this game are most reminiscent of a turn-based version of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim.
Oh,
Because
that's not a bad comparison.
it's you controlling a somewhat small amount of characters comparatively compared to the enemy
Yeah.
against a massive horde of enemies, and it's all about efficiently using all of those characters to take out as many enemies as you can.
Yeah, while also defending like a main like central point. I didn't even think about that because in Fire Emblem it's just if all your guys die you lose, but in Aegis Rim in this game, yeah, you're just defending points from a massive onslaught of enemies and bosses. Yeah, that's a good comparison. Also, great comparison just that you have a smaller cast and you get to over time see how they interconnect and develop socially. So big recommendation. If anything we've said has piqued your interest, give it a look, please. Very
Yeah.
cool game.
And so I'm looking on my recording. We're already about 15 minutes in.
Yeah,
So we might want to go ahead and transition to spoiler talk if we want.
I'm fully ready to talk spoilers.
This is
So
okay.
this is
This
last warning. You guys get out of here.
because this is a story that is very big on reveals. There's a lot in this story. There's a lot in this game's story that will irreparably change how you look at otherwise. What I don't know what's the word? Not innocent, but like
I don't know. Just just things will it'll completely
Yeah.
reverse 180 your perspective on certain events in the game for sure if you know too much. So, but I think it's okay if we move on. I sort of want to discuss our first experience with the game, and then we can move on to just some tier lists actually, because I want to try to order the our experiences with these characters and these routes of the story.
Yes. So yeah,
But to
you
do that,
we kind of have
yeah.
to introduce it all first. So yes, James, tell me about your initial experience with this game.
Yeah, so I was surprised at first because I had played, like I said, I've played the Danganronpas and the Somnium Files and all that. But this game was made by a new company with like a bigger budget, so like the game starts with a ton of like CG cutscenes, like one after another, all voiced. I was surprised by that. But after a while, it just kind of kept going, and I was like, all right, is there gameplay at all? But you get into it, and yeah, it's a pretty simple premise. Use this blood power, fight off monsters. And of course, my first thought is, there's more to this. Maybe the monsters aren't the bad guys. Maybe we're the real monsters. But I don't know anything. The only real thing I feel sure of is the game really incentivizes you to die in battle. They tell you if you die in battle, you can be resuscitated the next turn. But if you die in battle, like you like put yourself down to 1 HP, you get crazy buffs, and you can sacrifice yourself to do super attacks and etc. And your blood splatters everywhere. And
You get extra
my,
points for killing yourself.
yeah, I was like, that's interesting. I wonder why it's incentivizing that. I wonder if there's like a downside to dying. And alongside that, early on, the characters are told, murder. It's fine to kill the commanders of these enemies, like the bosses. They're not people.
They're
Just
not
kill them.
people. You can just murder them. Even if
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
fine.
like they're surrendering, don't worry about
Yeah,
that.
they're evil, heartless monsters. So just kill them. And on top of that, it makes you choose who gets to do the deed.
Okay,
It
yeah,
like the game stops, gets all dark, and says, "You pick someone to kill them."
that was very
I,
much my first like moment of pause of just like, oh, this is an interesting
yep,
thing the game is doing and is like making me choose.
yep. Even in the rare case that you don't have anyone to choose, there's just one person that can do the job. The game still makes you just be the deciding factor. You still have to click A and say kill them. So you're always, no matter what, even the player, you're always part of that transaction. You are
Well,
forced to participate in that killing.
there are a
Um,
couple of instances where
a couple,
a character will do it of their own volition, but yeah, for the most
right?
part, you do always select the person, even if it is only one character.
So throughout the game, of course, I had mixed feelings about that. The scene looks really cool, by the way. That deep red is awesome.
Yeah, because
But
can you
yeah, I had
explain like
mixed
what
feelings about it.
exactly happens in it? Because it's not just you choose a character to go execute the enemy. It is like
Mhm.
specifically how it is presented is it's presented from the
The enemy's
the
perspective.
commander's point of view and like a first person perspective. When you are selecting the party member who goes to kill the commander, it is presented as like the commander's eyes like darting around in fear
Yep.
and trying and
Ev-
like not knowing what's going on, who's about to approach me. And like you see from the characters you see from the commander's perspective, they're very clearly like on the ground weakened and
Yep.
are approached by whoever you select, who then just like stabs them in the neck.
Yep. It's glowing red. Everyone like looking up with focused but like uncaring eyes. They walk up, stab, rain of blood, and then the big execution like success or complete or something.
Yeah, well,
And
no,
it's like,
not
man,
not the word, James.
what's the
The
word?
specific word they use is extermination complete.
Oh, is it extermination? I thought I said execution. I
I'm
may have just
pretty
misheard
sure
that.
it's extermination complete.
Regardless,
And
regardless, that same vibe, like, oh my god.
like after the characters, like when the characters are standing in like the blood rain that comes down, like all of them will have like very different reactions. Some of them are kind of like reveling in it if they're like a more sadistic character, most of them are like clearly not having a great time, but they're just like, okay, this had to be done. I can't like blame myself for it. Whereas some are just having an absolutely horrible time and
Oh
are
yeah,
really upset that you just made them kill someone.
yeah. It's quite a feeling, and you get it early on, and many times throughout the game. In fact, it happens so often, I would say you get desensitized to it even. But yeah. So getting that, um, definitely it definitely told me what kind of game I was getting into. But it also made me go, there's some characters I think are just fine with killing, and others I don't want to ever have kill someone. I want to try to keep blood off their hands if possible. But, I don't know if the
Yeah,
game's that
I
merciful.
man, I really shouldn't ever have I really really shouldn't have Tsubasa be forced to kill
Yeah, like, that would be
commanders. That'd
horrible.
be a horrible thing to do, regardless
Yeah.
of any gameplay benefits that would come from it.
Yeah.
Driving in
So
my truck right after the beer.
but, yeah, so that was quite an early experience. Gameplay-wise, I enjoy it, by the way. I don't have much to say specifically about the gameplay. I really like it. I like how they tie in, character abilities. I like that the main character, Takumi's ability, is canonically the ability to retry, like, a level or, like, a wave of enemies. You pause the game and, like, I want to retry. Like, that's his special ability in universe. He can do that. So I enjoy that. Um, but yeah, pretty quickly in the story, some twists start happening. Your Zirei, your mascot character, who you think is going to be there whole time, he gets offed like immediately.
Which was very
Someone's
strange coming in for me because like
yeah,
he I you know ha- having seen I've gotten a good bit of the Danganronpa series through like osmosis, and so
mhm,
I see him and I'm just like, oh, he's like the Monokuma of this game. He's like your mascot character that's going to be kind of following you around most of the game, and then
yeah,
nope.
telling you what to do. He did. I'll continue a little further, and then I'll actually go ahead and jump to you to get your perspective up to a certain point. But shortly after that, our Ice Queen character, Hiriko, lovely lady that everyone wants to get stepped on or stepped on by. She takes charge. She's like, "All right, our boss is gone. None of you know what you're doing. You're all pathetic. Half of you don't even want to fight. So I'm taking charge. Me and my big axe. Everyone, you're gonna fight with us, and we're gonna defend this place, whether you like it or not. Everyone, get on board." The game even introduces a mechanic where you have to convince people to like join your cause. Not the most interesting mechanic, but fun visually. But point is, you get everyone on your side to help fight back the enemy, and then Hiroko effing dies right before she can tell you some secret she seems to know. She gets effing, well, more like she disappears. It's like it's probably obvious to the player she's probably dead, but for now, she's just gone. She just vanishes from the plot. And everyone's like, did she die? Did she get kidnapped? Did she run away? What's going on? And you're on your own. And you and the few people on your team who decided to work together. A special note to a character named Ato. He's a white-haired, heroic little guy who wants to help you out. He's your buddy. You decide you're gonna have to fight to defend your school on your own without the help of your really awesome leader who just took charge, or Sirei who vanished a long time ago. You don't know why you're here. You still don't know any of the secrets or who's attacking you or why, really, but you're gonna defend the school. Carter, what was your experience of the game like up to this point?
Um, yes. So, hmm,
I'm definitely curious about like your first impressions, like when you first
like my
started,
very
and then
first.
what you thought. Yeah, like you boot up the game, you're starting at impressions, and also what you thought of the all the stuff with the blood and the death and yada yada.
I mean, I wouldn't say I was like necessarily wowed that much by the intro. I just treated it as like, okay, we're going through the motions, we're introducing like the character's backstory, um, and setting up some of the mystery. There's very obviously this like sudden disconnect after
Hmm.
you defeat the invaders in the complex, And like after that, and before you like wake up in the school, there's a very like sudden disconnect where it's kind of clear that like your character isn't aware of anything that went on in between those two events. And everyone
Yeah,
kind of
definitely
talks
opens
about that. They're like,
questions.
huh, like, we don't, none of us have any memories of after that first fight.
Hmm.
So, you know, I obviously was like, kind of going ahead and wondering, like, oh, okay, this might be like laying the grounds for a future twist somewhere. Either like, you know, I was already just kind of like, Virtue's Last Reward in the Zero Escape series has like some twists it goes for that are like kind of similar of like,
Hmm.
oh, you know, it's actually been a much longer time in between the backstory when a perspective was cut off and like the events of the game than you might have initially thought. So yeah,
Right.
you know, just going ahead and like thinking in my mind like, because I know Uchikoshi sometimes likes to reuse plot twists or rework them in certain ways.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
and so I was just keeping that in the back of my mind. I was relatively. I was just trying to kind of go along with the story, take it, take what it's offering to me at like, I don't know, kind of face value, just to get into the vibe.
Yeah.
They, you know, they do a very Danganronpa esque introduction of the characters where it's literally just everyone wakes up in a classroom, time to talk to them one by one. Um, I I don't know if I was
And you aren't.
really feeling or thinking all that much until, you know, as I said, like that first moment of pause when you end up killing the captain.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Because like that was definitely make you a little uncomfortable.
yeah, because like here's okay, because here's a specific thing is there's a very specific thing in the intro that did surprise me is that there's the scene where you and your best friend okay, even before that, I will say
Uh huh.
the residential complex, it definitely felt like a very isolated environment, very peaceful. It was interesting that like they even like showed us all of these like bunkers and stuff that the characters had to like hide in, and that they're just like under random manholes in the city. um
Yeah.
it is
They
kind
definitely
of
set up early. Things are unusual.
I will say there's a scene where like the main character falls down the manhole. Well, he falls down the stairs. Um,
Yeah.
and I was kind of expecting the perspective to cut to the school like after that. Um, it's like,
Gee,
huh,
what if he fell down and like hit his head and got knocked out and it was all a dream or something? Wouldn't that be crazy?
yeah, wouldn't that be wild? But when they're running through the city, trying to escape from like the invaders, one thing I did remember feeling about is like the invaders just kind of are like brutal at first. Like you
Oh yeah.
specifically see them like just actually on screen killing like fleeing civilians and people who are like begging for their lives, and they're like basically just like crushing them to death. It's like much more graphic off the bat than I was really expecting, which
Hmm.
does kind of put you in that mindset of like, oh these things are basically like just monsters. Like they are,
Yeah.
um, if these things get into like the complex, or if our characters ever find themselves like vulnerable to these things, like they're just going to die a very terrible death.
Yep. The
And
game and Sirei both make a point of like you see these things how awful they're slaughtering everyone.
they're
They
not
have to
going
be
to show
stopped.
you any mercy.
Hmm.
And so that, I guess that's also why I was a little taken aback when you had that execution scene, because that,
Hmm.
you know, obviously it is meant to kind of put you in the shoes of the commander and thus make you conflicted through building some sympathy for them of like, at the very least, like, it seems like the school invaders are like mindless, like, killing machines who are, you know, who only know how to, like, destroy. But the
Yeah.
commanders, they do make it clear off the bat that the commanders have some sort of sentience.
Yeah.
They are
They
not,
don't want it.
yeah, they are very much not the same thing as the invaders. Um, and then past that, I was definitely surprised that Sire died because he was such a big part of the marketing, and he's even on, like, the title screen. So
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, huh, that's very, very odd. Um, and then I did like Hiriko at first. She seemed interesting. Definitely seemed like there was a lot going on with her. In fact, I saw that there was so much obviously going on with her behind the scenes that I was kind of just like, okay, you know a bit too much. I feel like you're going to die soon. And soon enough, literally, she is she says a lot of stuff of like, oh, I need to make sure that everyone survives. Also, hey, you guys, I will tell you guys about everything I know tomorrow, which is the exact same thing
Yeah.
that Sire said before he died, and I think it's really funny that the exact same thing happens with Hiriko.
Yep.
I will say because this is something that it can be really easy to forget in later routes. I did really
Mhm.
like that all of the characters kind of have different thoughts and feelings on whether or not they're going to fight. Some
Yeah.
characters are gung ho about it. Some are like hesitant, but they're willing to do it for the sake of survival. And then others have to kind of be convinced both then and as the story goes on. And some characters are just like, yeah, no, I don't. You guys have fun. I'm not going to take part in this.
Oh yeah, the variety of characters and perspectives and like just like their thoughts is something I really appreciate. So like I said, you do have to like convince them, but like some of them have perfectly reasonable reasons to like doubt what's going on, or like I don't believe this, or even if it is true, like I'm not going to be able to help, or even if it is true, I don't want any part of it. I have to protect, yada yada, even
Yeah.
if they're told, hey, you're doing this to protect your families or your city or whatever. There are reasons people do or don't want to participate.
And I do like
Some of
that.
them are kind of complicated.
I do like that because it is a lot more realistic and I guess emotionally true in a way of like most people obviously are not going to want to be put in this situation. Most people are not, even if they get all these cool powers, most people don't want to like risk their lives to go and fight this insurmountable
Yeah.
threat. So I
Also, a
do I
special
do like that these characters are very divided on whether or not they want to do it.
special note on Ato, who is just like, they kidnapped a bunch of us and threw us in this place and told us to fight. Like, I didn't sign up for that. Did you guys? Like, this is really sus. Aren't you a little bit confused? Like, they could have like gathered us together, trained us, told us what's going on. Like, isn't this a little bit like I don't know, And it's like, yeah, he makes some solid points actually.
Yep,
So the game's
as he
got
does
you.
all the way throughout the game.
Yep, all the way through. I will say I wanted to mention this a second ago, but the on-screen like slaughter you see of those monsters very reminiscent of specifically of Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls. A very small number of people have played that, but yeah, Kodaka is perfectly willing to get very violent on screen with big teddy bears mauling people to death. It does a great job of showing you things are really serious and you should be very careful not to effing die. Second thing, also a Kodaka-ism of putting characters on the cover of the box art, all the advertising, only for them to get killed off like a day into the story. Like he loves that so much. So fun. I'm
It's
happy
a
to see it
really good
again.
twist.
Yeah, he does it all the time.
I do like I am very much a fan of the fake out protagonist or fake out major character strategy.
Oh, I love it. It always because it always like you get set up for something and then you get surprised in a fun way when it's someone else who's important and you end up getting close to someone you didn't expect. It's very rewarding. But yeah, that's a big chunk of our like introduction in the game. From that point onwards, of course, the story continues. There's lots more battles with other commanders. in your first 100 days, you don't understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
They seem to speak a different language, so you're not really able to gather a lot more information. You're able to theorize, but all sorts of little things happen. There's this strange, fiery presence, like a boy you can't understand, seems to appear. You can't speak to him, but he's like on fire. It's very strange. There's like a character. There's a commander that you take prisoner because they look human and they don't want to fight. Very strange. All sorts of things happen. You
There's
fight
a
many commanders.
there's
Go
a
on.
specifically also very early on in the story you go to a neighboring academy,
Yep.
which is kind of the other half of the characters that are meant to fight with you. One of them looks very, very, very similar to your childhood friend that we mentioned in the first few
Yep.
scenes, except
And all
she
those CG
doesn't seem to
cutscenes.
recognize you. She shares a lot of traits with that character in her backstory, but does not seem to. But you are surprisingly absent from the stories that she tells you.
Yep. Uh, just go ahead and call her Nozomi. Yeah.
Yes,
Our main character Takumi and Nozomi, who looks exactly like your childhood friend in all the CG cutscenes, and they're pretty central characters from the story from this point onwards. But yeah, there's just another academy they had. It's supposed to be like a decoy. It gets attacked. You rescue those folks. And so your party grows bigger with more people who also have experience, but they're just as in the dark as you. They're defending humanity, but they don't know the specifics. Uh, and yeah, lots of stuff happens. A couple
you
characters end up
you
going.
get some all right episodic character arcs where some of the characters will have an initial arc where you kind of get a peek at what they have going on. What are some initial ways we can develop on your core flaws. It's a pretty fun first trip round.
Absolutely, and I think it does a great job getting you accustomed to what some of these people are like, whether you like them or not. Like understanding like their personalities.
Because there's gonna be
I guess
some you
special note.
really don't like.
Yes, a special note goes to Ima. He's a purple-haired young guy, and I give note to him because he gets a weird amount in the first 100 days. First, he doesn't want to fight; he wants to defend his sister, who he's way too close to. And eventually, he's convinced to fight alongside you. And at some point, he ends up getting kidnapped by a monster, by one of the villains, and he comes back, and he dies. His body succumbs, and it's like a horrible thing. Don't worry though,
We
we
have
can
a
fix
plan.
him. We have
Yugamu
the
has a
technology.
solution, as he always does.
Yeah, our boy Yugamu, who knows way too much about the human body and biology and how to kill and how to revive, revives our boy Ima in Sirei's egg-shaped little mascot body, and
I
he joins us in the story as Sirei for a while.
I loved that development so much. Have I could not believe this was happening in a main route.
Oh yeah,
This isn't this is before things start
that's
branching off. And so I
yeah. This
genuinely
is
was like,
like things haven't gotten silly yet.
this feels like something that would happen in most other games as a bizarre side route.
You say that. What's really funny is this is the only time in the game anything like this happens because it never happens
It
in any
never
other
happens
route.
again. I mean,
But yeah, Ima's just in Sirei's body now.
I feel like Ema would veto it, um,
Yeah,
in any future route if he was ever given knowledge that it happened before. I think he would
hmm
just be like, "Yeah, no, if it comes to that again, just let me die."
yep. But this is where the story takes some interesting turns. We're approaching the ending of our 100 days here, where Ima's like, "Yeah, I got to see some of the invaders' culture. Like they have like personalities and culture, and they talk to each other, maybe even a religion, you know." Um, and so the leader of the invaders comes by, who we don't know the name of, but they're like the most powerful of all, the most powerful commander,
And she's
and they
very
speak to us.
reasonable.
Yeah, she's very reasonable. She speaks to us through Ima and is like, you know, we don't want to do this war. I think you can tell at this point, like we're like sentient, like we don't want any part of this. Also, you're like the thing you're defending in that academy. It's not just gonna stop us. It's gonna raise this world when the 100 days is up. You're all gonna die too. So if you want, like, we have this ship. Like, we can get you out of here. We can get you back to your homes. We can end this battle once and for all.
Because
Sire and whoever planned all this kept you in the dark. They didn't want you to know. They were gonna sacrifice you to kill us for no reason. We can help you out though.
right, because is this after the first like big twist of the game, that being the what the TRC actually is?
I genuinely don't remember the order, but I figure we can just go ahead and bring it up.
Yeah.
Yes, you're up to this point of the game. The characters have been in this complex their whole lives, so like they don't know. Like the complex is walled off in all directions. They don't know what the sky looks like even. So them being out in the world defending this academy, like they see the moon and they're like, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. And it gets revealed at a certain point that that's no moon. That's a space station. That's the
It's a
complex.
satellite.
Yeah, it's a satellite orbiting the Earth, which is very interesting.
And it is what houses humanity at this current point.
Yep, humanity is living on the satellite because Earth's been decimated. Sirius told you you're defending what remains of the Earth from these monsters, and don't worry, the thing inside the academy will raise the Earth with them, and humanity will be able to move back to the surface. But these people who were living on the surface, who we thought were monsters, seem pretty reasonable, and they're like, we're just living here, and you guys are just living there. Like, we'll get you back. Like, we don't have to do all this fighting. You've been murdering us for a while, but like, we'll get you back. We'll end this battle.
Yeah, and at this point, like, you haven't had like any major losses. I think as of this point, like, Ema got very, very close to dying, and the other half of the cast has this teammate named Moko who ended up dying essentially before you ever even were able to get with them. And even even those like two relatively light losses are still hit the characters really hard. It just, by kind of showing them, like, even if things haven't gone bad yet, like, you can still very much die in this situation.
Yeah, it doesn't help that on the complex there's barely any concept of things like war. Like, they've just been chilling their whole lives. So the idea that like people will get lost in these battles to the death.
Most of them have been chilling.
Most of them. But you know what I mean? Like, they're just like teenagers who've been like living their lives, and now suddenly like people around them are like dying, and like that's horrible. So
yeah,
we want to end this. And so there's a big discussion between everyone. Most people want to end the fighting. Nozomi is an exception. She's like, I actually, chose to join this battle, and I did it because I wanted to defend humanity, and I don't know, I don't know if I trust this. I feel like something's off.
She also has this unique backstory of, unlike the rest of you guys, she was not chosen. She isn't even an actual like hemoanima user in the same way as you guys. She ends up telling you like that her mother was like a researcher who had done these experiments on her to try and figure out the secrets behind hemoanima, but never quite got them working on her. And the reason Nozomi like kind of snuck her way onto the project is partly because she wanted to find out exactly like what had been done to complete that research.
Yeah, but now she's here, and now just like ready to give up even. So we're pretty much ready. We're like, all right, we're just gonna get on the ship. We're gonna end this fight. We don't want to cause any more suffering. You're about ready to go. Just kidding. The ship's a trap. Everyone gets stuck inside except for Takumi. Ema, who is being picked up by the bad guy leader, she picks him up by his little egg-shaped head and is holding him like a little teddy bear.
And she Humpty Dumpty's him.
Yeah, she Humpty Dumpty's him everywhere. And Nozomi, who stayed behind, joins us. And yeah, it turns out the leader, who we'll call Veshnus, she's
Yep.
super evil and effing hates us, and is like, "You guys are morons. You're gonna die now." Takumi and Nozomi, they
She
team up.
is
The last two
like a
members,
cartoon character villain.
cartoon character villain.
Like just completely evil. Zero remorse at all. Like she
Yeah,
literally does
she
like
even has an evil laugh.
maniacal. She has like maniacal laughs and like crazy eyes.
Yeah,
Um, you can probably,
she,
if you haven't played the game, you can probably picture her in your mind, and
yeah.
you're
She also has
it's pretty
homophobia in her
close.
eyes.
She does have homophobia in her eyes.
Yep. Uh, Nozomi and Takumi team up. They save the others from their ship, and then Nozomi effing dies. She gets a giant sword rammed through her chest. So that's no good.
And right before
Uh,
she dies, she ends up having some sort of revelation about her identity as your childhood friend. She's like, "Oh wait, no, I remember now." And
yep.
immediately dies.
Yep. So Takumi just lost his childhood friend, who he's known his whole life, and his new friend, who he's been fighting alongside in this battle for so long. At the same time, and in a crying rage for the, I want to say Takumi hasn't had a lot of. He has character, but he hasn't had a lot of. What's the word? Like ownership of his life. He hasn't like made a lot of decisions during the story. He's kind of just gone with the flow. But it's
Yeah,
definitely a point where he's like, "All right, I'm going to effing kill you, and that's my choice."
yeah, that is the thing. Is like Takumi does have this kind of sequence of events of he is very much characterized as just like an average guy, not very like driven, very go with the flow. It's, you know, in the flashbacks you get with him, in the periodic flashbacks you get of his time back in the complex, you know, it was almost like a struggle for him to like for people to get him to like, you know, do his homework and stuff. He's not
Yeah.
a very like he's not the most industrious young man.
Yes,
And
and
that
that's so intentional.
yeah.
Because the whole game, you're just along with the ride with him. You're just sort of figuring out the mystery, going with the flow. But at some point, you know enough that you're like, all right, I should take action. And this is, I guess, this is our first look at that. Takumi and the others work together to avenge Nozomi, who was right all along. We were tricked. And they effing kill Veshnus to death with a lot of stabs. Actually, no, Takumi stabs her and is like, "All right, time to ask you some questions and sort some things out." And Veshnus like starts rambling and monologuing, like, "Hi, you idiots! You don't know anything. I'm so cool." And then I can't, but I'm so bad at names. I'm actually forgetting her name.
Is
Oh,
it Kako
Kako.
who does it?
Yeah, Kako's like, "Hey, check this out! Multiple stab attack," and just stabs her repeatedly and repeatedly. This is what you get for murdering my brother. Uh, yeah, there's
This
not a
won't
lot left afterwards.
this won't be the last time a villain has been killed by another character. Like when we could have gotten some really good information out of them.
Yeah, she seemed to be hinting at some stuff, but to be honest, I don't think Veshnus is going to talk. She liked seeing us suffer,
Yeah.
but it's okay. She gets stabbed into a puddle. Like she's there's nothing left of her. So we did it, gang. We defeated the enemy. The leader is dead. They're probably not going to attack us much anymore. But like, Nozomi's dead. The heart of our group is dead. Ima is dead. Sirei is gone. We actually did find Hiriko's body. Someone like killed her. We don't know who. Must have been an invader. And yeah, but this is horrible. But the days are almost up. But that's actually bad, isn't it? Isn't the school going to raise the earth and also kill us? Like, we have no method of escape. What do we do? And so Eito, you know, our BFF, our good boy friend, is like, good boyfriend, is like, you know, this whole time I've been wondering what exactly it is in the academy we're defending. Like, if we're gonna die anyway, can't we at least figure that out? I'm so curious. And everyone's like, yeah, I
You
don't want to
make
live with regrets.
Ado, you make a really good point, as always. You only have
Yeah,
good
thank you,
ideas.
Yeah, you know, you and your giant scythe, you know, I just know I can trust you guys. So we go into the academy, we go to finally break down the wall that's been blocking us from figuring out what we're protecting. And that flaming boy I mentioned earlier, the weird presence, the boy who's on fire appears. And suddenly we can understand what he's saying. It turns out when we absorbed Veshnus's power and we killed her, that's something I completely neglected to mention that, but when you kill a commander, you absorb their power. We absorbed Veshnius' power, and it was strong enough that the Hemo Anima now allows us to understand the voices of others, even if we don't understand their language. Very cool. We can understand the Flamey Boy, and he's like, yeah, so I'm actually what you've been defending. My body is in the academy, and my Hemo Anima allows me to control these really cool big fire. It killed things really good, and that's what's going to raise the Earth. But you can come see me if you want. I mean, you guys have been defending me for like 100 days. Like, I think you earned it, honestly. So you go in there, you go to check him out, and he's a little baby. He's a little test tube baby in a big old sphere. Turns out his body is just a baby, and he's able to manifest himself, physically as flames, but like very strange. Some sort of like weird mutant, I guess. I wonder if we can figure out some more about this. Uh-oh.
Yep.
What's that? Giant scythe stabs into the test tube, killing the baby and starts absorbing it. Oops.
Ato, yep, turns out Ato is also big evil. He hates humanity because
Yep.
of some odd visual defect in his brain where he sees all of humanity, he sees every human as like a horrible, disgusting monster.
Yep.
And it's literally like they look disgusting to him, their voices grate on him like nails on a chalkboard.
They smell horrible.
Everyone like has this stench to him. It's as if he's like repulsed by the very being of every human, and he wants to kill all humans because of this.
He does explain, like, it's not like I'm working with the invaders. I actually I don't care about that whatsoever. But like, yeah, I came here, got cool powers, was told we're defending humanity. What the heck? I hate humanity. I killed my own parents. Like, what the heck? You guys suck. Have you read human history? Do you know what we've done? Like, are you serious? I'm not defending you guys. Really funny though. Like, by the way, not only did I kill Sirui, but I killed Hiroko in her sleep. That was kind of awesome. That time we like took that commander prisoner. Like, I released them and then absorbed them. Like I've been setting things up so we'd fail the whole time. And now I've just absorbed the most powerful Hemo Anima user on the planet. Like, I'm just goated. I'm gonna wipe you guys out. We're at our last straw. Like, we've already lost everything, and now our best friend has betrayed us and is like, I hated you all along. You guys suck. This sucks all around, but like, let's kill Ato, guys. I'm done with this. Let's end this game already.
And you kill Ato.
Can you kill Ato? Okay, well he gets cool, like one-winged angel form with like a crazy what's the song called?
Rumble.
There's a really one more time?
Rumble.
Yeah, the song Rumble by Pale Dusk. Very good song. I really like it. It's all over the place, but freaking awesome insert song, final boss theme.
It's a very chaotic song, but I do like it.
It's very chaotic, but very good. And you fight and you kill Ato, and he's just like, it's not a brain defect, guys. It's actually a gift from God. I'm just right, and I'm gonna laugh to my last moments because you guys look like idiots, and you don't know the actual reason. You still don't know why you're here. It's been 100 days, and so many people died, and you still don't know what the truth is. And Takumu's like, all right, well, check this out, bro. Stabs you to death and takes your power. So that's cool. The game's about over now. The power in the facility, the fortress, the school starts to go out now that the baby's gone.
And despite all of like the plot stuff that has gone on and the character development we've gotten, I do want to emphasize we know basically the same amount of stuff we did as we did at like the beginning of the game. Virtually almost no information has been given to us in this. First, this is a 30-hour segment at the beginning.
Yeah. 30 hours of gameplay. There's a reason I skimmed through a lot of it. It's because most of the story is character development, social stuff, like sort of like politics, trying to figure out secrets, but like not a lot of information's actually like understood. Like maybe uncovered, but not really understood yet.
You get a lot of questions, a lot of points where it seems like the characters are kind of getting close to some sort of revelation, but something just goes wrong, either because of a decision that was made or just random chance, essentially.
Yeah. War is messy. That or Ato directly interfering to make things suck more. But yeah, now that the baby's gone, turns out its power was running the academy, and without it, all the power goes out. And so for the last few days, we're all just kind of wallowing despair, knowing Well, we might be raised in a few days, but now the baby's gone. I don't know. Maybe that attack won't happen. Maybe the planet is doomed. Everything we did was for nothing. My best friend dead. Nozomi, who was also my childhood friend, is dead. Everything we did was pointless, and we don't even know why we were here. So that sucks. Um, and the game's about over. We're about at a day 100, and suddenly the flamey boy appears again, and he explains, Ato absorbed me, but then you absorbed him. So like my power's still in you, and it's just really powerful power. Like I still exist sort of as an echo. Don't think about it too hard, player. But point is, I just want to talk to you one last time and let you know, like, hey, now that you absorbed my power and all that other stuff, like it's really souped up your hemo anima. It's actually way more powerful now. Like your special abilities should be like cranked up to level 100, sir. And that includes your ability to retry a battle. It's not just retry a battle or a wave or a level now. You can retry the whole 100 days if you'd like. Like you can just do that. You can just
Time
press
travel.
pause. You can just press pause and click redo, and we'll restart the entire game from scratch, and you'll keep all your powers and memories. Might be helpful. Obviously, he actually says there's like obviously rough implications of that. I don't know if like the timeline's gonna split or get overwritten. Like I don't know if anyone else will retain their memories. Like things could go completely different. But like I don't know, you could do it. And so you go out on the last day. The attack doesn't happen, but surprise, surprise, a ship comes
Now,
out of the school. It turns out.
let me actually just point out one thing. Just something to file in the mind cabinet for later. Like specifically, what the weapon you find that's supposed to raise the Earth in the defense room is like a big silo of missiles, a big silo of missiles.
Yeah, big old missiles.
So, you kind of look at that. It's called an omnidirectional attack. It's supposed to basically wipe out all life on the planet. And you look at that and you're just kind of like, is this supposed to be a metaphor for... are these supposed to just be nukes? I'm thinking about this too hard. That there's probably not a thematic connection here to be made,
Yeah, probably not. They probably didn't put that much thought to it. Come on, Carter. But yeah, so we go out on the last day, and a ship comes out of the ground, and it turns out, oh, Sirei and people behind this project actually did have a plan to get us out. They weren't going to let us die on the last day. Vesnus was just lying to us. We didn't know better. We were actually going to be fine all along. We should have believed Nozomi. This sucks. Oh wait, I don't know. Oh yeah, the attack wasn't gonna happen either. So like, yeah, we'll get to go home, sure, but half of us are like, a quarter of us are dead. The mission's a failure. Everything was pointless. That's great.
It's very, like, since we failed, there's a very real possibility that we just get court-martialed the second we step back into our home.
Yeah, like, this sucks. And Takumi's like, I'm not satisfied with this. Guys, I have the power to try again. Only I can do it. I want to. I want to go back. I want to save Nozomi. I want to make it so this wasn't all meaningless. And of course, there's the conversation like, hey, that's kind of selfish. Hey, we can't go with you. Hey, won't that like split the timeline? Like, will we remain? Like, is this world gonna stay the same? And we don't know the answers to all those questions, but we do know like this is something Takumi's decided. In fact, he's decided it so hard the game gives us a decision and then ignores us if we say no. Twice.
And then we turn back the clock.
Turn back the clock. Time to redo our 100 days. Hit cue beautiful credits music.
And after those credits, the game does something that made me very angry.
Yeah, you want to get.
Okay, so here's how it goes. I will say I did like the collection of scenes where you're discussing whether or not you want to time travel with the characters, kind of indirectly. You're more just like, hey, if you hypothetically had the ability to go back and redo everything, did you have any regrets with the way things turned out? Is there something you had wished would happen? And I do like it for how it kind of sets up like little player goals. throughout the rest of the game of like these are all things that certain routes will like address to varying degrees. I
Yeah.
like that the ghost boy that you talk to, the ghost fire boy, he has this one wish of like, hey, if you do go back, I'd like to be friends with all of you. I'd like to actually I'd like to have met you guys for real. And I don't know,
Yeah.
I do really like that for how it sets up some stuff later on. Um, but yeah, and after you end up going back in time, it shows you going back in time. You leap into this kind of weird space-time wormhole thing, and after the credits, the
Mm-hmm.
perspective is back in the timeline that you left. It's still
Yeah.
going on, and the pod touches back down with either like a voice recording or a radio transmitter in it of one of your former teammates being like, hey man, can you actually wait a second? Something crazy is happening. You may not want to time travel just yet. Things are really, really weird, man. And
There's like a huge plot twist TM on this on the Tokyo residential
and
complex.
when
Like
that
you'll
happened,
totally want to know what it is.
I like literally just said out loud, like, you can't do that to me. After like
Isn't that awesome?
the game, like the game has literally been like dangling things in front of you for 30 straight hours and
Hmm.
refusing to answer any questions.
Yeah, just question after question.
So yeah,
Uh,
you end up going back in time, and thus you start the 100-line Last Defense Academy 2.
two. Yep.
The title screen literally changes to add a 2 to the title. Um,
Yeah.
which
It's such a. It's so goated.
I love that. There's a really good Jacob Geller video that I'd recommend called Games That Hide Their Own Sequel.
Hmm.
Where it's just kind of talking about games that do this exact thing, where it's a game
How would
to
you?
kind of emphasize that you're only like partway through the story will like literally be like, no, this is game title 2 now. We gave
Yep.
you not just the game, but its sequel as well.
Guess I'll have to make a sequel to that video. uh, but yeah, I loved the two in the title. Even your save files get the two from this point onwards, and also a tracker for how many endings you got. Because from this point onwards, Takumi is taking a role in his life. He now knows everything that was going to happen. He knows many questions but no answers. He knows Ato's a traitor. He knows there's another school with other students. He knows there's like the bad guys have sentience, and maybe he can even understand them now. He knows what the Flame Boy is and what they're defending. Like he knows to like defend Sire because Sire is gonna die. He knows about the Tokyo residential complex. We'll
And
call it
so
the TRC.
and now
Like he knows all this stuff.
it's all in your hands now, and
Yep.
from that point on you will start making decisions that will take the story in very, very different directions.
Yep.
um,
Drastically different directions.
and so with that, do we want to move on to the next section of this podcast?
You mean the talking about the tier lists? I first I
Yes.
wanted to say from this point onwards, of course, you can branch the story. There sort of is a in quotes main continuation. It's called the second scenario.
There are
It's sort
technically
of like
two
we'll
question
get to
mark.
that one thing at a time. But the point I just want to make is this sort of is like if there were only one route in the game, it would probably be this one. It's just like Takumi goes back and does the things you would expect and tries to get to the bottom of everything that happened. I would say that is like the core that almost everything branches off from. Even like I feel like that was probably written first, and the rest of the branches were written after. And most players are not going to get that route first. Like that route, you have to do some oddly specific things to get it. Most players, including us, we did not get that first. I think me and Carter both actually got the first, the same first route.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't mind talking about that for a second, vaguely, before we started tier listing.
Yes. Yes. And It might be
Go
good to
on.
mention because it does lead back into the thing I said about how back before, before you do the time loop thing, you talk to Ghost Boy. He says, you know, oh, I want to be friends with you guys, and it definitely
Mhm.
feels like me and James. The first route we got is one that I would say comes about by you picking the most like altruistic and correct
Yeah.
feeling choices first.
Yeah, like what honestly feel like a lot of people probably got this route because it feels like the kindest, like most truthful, like heroic choices, I guess.
Because
Um,
there's when you go back, there's a very big choice that branches you off into
yeah.
two like major
Let's go ahead.
clusters of routes.
Let's go ahead and talk about this because this the beginning is the same for everything.
Yes,
Takumi comes back. His memories suddenly return on day two. He remembers everything from day 100. Returns to day two.
and it is the
Uh,
night that Ato had ended up killing Sire.
Yeah, so he gets all these power buffs. He gets a new ability even. He gets all these memories. He's able to understand the Fire Boy, and he says, "Hey, I absorbed you in the future. Have come back to prevent things from getting bad. Oh crap! I think Ato's about to kill Sirei. Help me find him."
We need to save
And
Sire.
yeah,
We must make sure that he lives. He didn't do anything bad in the initial route.
Sirei,
Sire is
did
very
wrong.
much worthy of being saved.
God. You confront Ato, reveal the truth to Sirei. You pretty swiftly like this guy effing sucks, and you convince them of that pretty quickly. And you go to fight Ato, and Ato's like, I can handle you. He forgot you're the protagonist, and also you just got a big power buff, so you
You
pretty
literally
swiftly
get a
beat
new
him.
super.
Yeah, you get a new super. The final boss team plays again. It's very funny. You beat him very easily, and he's like, Jesus Christ.
And
And you
you
get the choice. Sirei's like, all right, well, he's a traitor. Effing kill him. And you get your first choice.
excuse me.
Your first choice of the game: kill Ato, yes or no? Do you want to kill him because he's clearly very evil, whatever the reasons? Like he's not like a little misunderstood or something. Like
The
he's so
game makes it
clearly and
very
happily
clear he
evil.
is irredeemable, ontologically evil, essentially.
He hates humanity on a fundamental level. You cannot just become friends with him or make him see the good in people. He like his brain is just like that. So you can kill him, get it over with, or you can be the reasonable one. You can take him prisoner. You can try to be merciful. And this is I would say the most important choice of the game because it branches all the routes into two neatly divided categories. We'll call uh, like I don't know uplifting sort of gooder routes, and then the you made the wrong choice. These are all bad ending routes where
We can call
nearly all of the
them
stories.
A and B just to keep things
I was
simple.
I was gonna call it negative and positive, so there's no confusion. Like negative is sort of like the routes where or let's just go kill Ato or spare Ato routes. I think it's
Yeah.
easier. Kill Ato routes where Ato is dead. 90% of them turn to hell at some point, in one way or another. Like there's like a small exception, but like even those are arguably kind of hellish in their own way. But yeah, killing Ato, like while it solves some problems, like it gives people the perspective. Oh, you're the kind of guy who would just kill a traitor like a day in. Like what are you like?
Yes,
You're so
because
easily
from
just
your
able to kill someone. Like
from the
what?
other characters' perspectives, Ato hasn't done anything yet. Like
Yeah, even if
you
he was willing to, like he hasn't yet.
and like nobody ever got to see Ato being like evil. So everyone is just kind of like, "Okay, I guess I have to take your word for this."
Yeah,
Um
you start on a bad foot. You're already willing to kill, and if things start to go wrong, they continue dominoing down. Those are
it's
the kinds of routes kill Ato routes are like.
spare Ato
Where
routes
you gonna?
are a little it's I would say they initially start happier, but they can still very easily go down some very dark places.
Yes, to be clear, spare Ato routes aren't all positive. In fact, a good handful aren't. But like they aren't guaranteed to end as hellishly as some of the kill Ato routes are. But they're more like you start off on a better foot. You aren't someone who's just gonna kill someone a day, and people tend to trust you a little more. And at this point, I would say the second most important choice comes in, which is whether you tell the others you're a time traveler or not.
Because
Because
there's
you can
a
choose to say, "Hey everyone, I've time traveled back in time," or you can choose to not say anything, keep it to yourself.
and the game makes very good arguments for both choices.
Yes.
That was actually one I really had to think on.
Yeah, and this will, of course, this I would say this is just as equally as important because this choice will not only drastically affect the story and how people perceive you, but also it will impact things in ways you couldn't possibly have predicted.
Because
I will
it's,
say,
I will say, like, can we? This choice is kind of surprisingly the one that will decide which of the two main endings you
mhm,
have the opportunity to orient yourself toward in that playthrough.
yeah. Um, and I would say probably the most important factor, I hadn't mentioned it yet, but the most important factor of this decision, it's just important that I should bring it up, is because your power also came back in time with you, Humo Anima is just plot juice, plot blood. It just adjusts to whatever's going to make things make sense the best.
They
You can't
literally
just come
say
back in
this in
time.
game.
Yeah, they say this in game. Like this is plot MacGuffin
We
juice.
don't know how it
So
works. Don't think about it too hard.
yeah. So you coming back with all that power, like the scales need to balance a bit. So everyone else also gets a buff. Maybe not an equal buff, but like they also get pretty strong in comparison.
This
So you
includes
aren't just gonna one
Ato
shot.
and Veshness.
Yeah. So you can't just even the enemies who have Anima also get a buff. So you can't just come back and one shot all the villains now. They also got buffed.
And they
You're still
the,
you're still stronger relatively, but like it's still a close fight.
and what's just as important is they know they've been buffed.
Yes.
The game, even if you try and play it cool, um, irreparably things are already going to be different because when you came back, everyone's hemoanima kind of freaked out a little bit, and so both like all the protagonists and antagonists are kind of like, huh, what was that? That's a little weird. And
Yeah.
that prompts certain characters to make certain decisions that will change things.
Yeah, so the butterfly effect's already in play. Even just you time traveling back has already changed things so they won't be exactly the same. Now you can still use the information you gathered and personalities and stuff. And a lot of things will happen the same, but a lot of things won't. So you can't just assume it will all be one to one.
Yes.
And that's why I say those are the two most important decisions. Your standing, your morality, what you're willing to do, what you tell people, what they know about the future, how you decide to go about it. Those decide the most important branches. And from that point onwards, there's a lot of smaller decisions that will change the shape and nature of the story and
Now,
the direction it goes, what
I
it
will
focuses on, who it focuses on.
I will say the next decision as well is pretty important. So me and James both picked first to tell everyone. Me personally, I thought it was just because like I wanted to see the changes. I was a
Mhm.
little afraid of going onto a main ending or main route as my first one. And so I
Yeah.
figured there's probably I kind of correctly guessed that one of the one of the main endings is probably behind the route where you don't tell people
Mm.
that you're a time traveler. And so as you go down the line where you have told people you're a time traveler, you're met with another interesting decision where people become very. We mentioned there's some differences with Nozomi from the rest of the group. She's very obviously not
Oh, right, right.
similar to everyone. She knows things that she shouldn't. And so you have a choice to either tell people about her backstory or keep quiet about it. And, I personally thought at first, like, let's respect, like, and the game does make this very clear. Like, we did mention that in the previous route, time kept going on past, when you went back in time,
Mm.
you're the only person who comes back with memories. And so, technically, in a sense, everyone that you're interacting with now is a different person than they were, than
Yeah.
in the first playthrough. And that includes Nozomi, who the main character becomes very, very close to.
Yep.
And so, knowing that in my mind, I was a few steps ahead of Takumi, who can be a little thick-skulled at points. And it's
Yeah.
like, we should probably respect Nozomi's autonomy and not just, like, blab about her, like, very private and traumatic backstory in front of everyone
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, let me just tell everyone. I actually don't remember which one I picked first, but I'm sure you remember.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that... Well, we have the same, route, we had the same first route. And so that
Right,
is what
right.
sends you down mine and
Oh, right,
James's
right.
first route, which is known as the coming of age route.
Yep. Also known as, I guess it's closest to like shonen protagonist, sort of like just generic hero route. You know,
It's
getting
it's
not only
basic.
defeating the bad guys, but also getting close to your sweetheart.
Yeah, it's the route that I feel best fulfills the promise of the Flame Boy, which is, you know, he's like, "Oh, I want to be friends with you guys." It gives you the most like it gives you the most like fun team building slice of life scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not very big on lore drops. I actually don't know if there's any twists
It's
at all in that route.
there's there's like one twist, you know, regarding Ato, but like that's about it.
Yeah,
Um,
and so yeah,
unless you got one of the bad endings.
it's surprisingly close to like a golden route in a lot of ways,
Hmm.
and that like things actually go pretty well. Um, you know, you make a lot of more moral decisions than in the first one. There's
Seemingly.
definitely some elements that we will talk about, but it definitely feels like one that is set up that is a bit. It's a pretty happy ending, and honestly, when I finished Coming of Age, I was kind of like, you know what? I wouldn't be too disappointed if this is just where I left things.
Yeah,
It's a
because
very like
you're
fulfilling
left.
ending.
It is. You're left with a bunch of questions still hanging, but like it's fulfilling. Like character wise, like very good thumbs up. I
Um,
had a great time,
you get very, very
and
good development for the Flame Boy, who is one of my favorite characters.
yeah, and also good interactions between the core characters. You know, your Takumi, Nozomi, Ato. Cool final boss. You know, final boss theme plays again. I think for only the third time in the game. It's super funny. I don't think that song plays ever again, but I just happened to play the exact order of events where I heard like all three in a
Yeah.
row. So it's pretty funny. Um, but yeah, that one was pretty satisfying. But like you said, there's not a lot of like lore drops. But it was a good experience of like traveling back in time and seeing how our choices affected things. For example, I
Yeah.
think in that route doesn't like Darmy die in that route?
Yes. So Darmy like literally gets off-screened.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, when I was playing that, when I was halfway through that route, I think I sent a message to you, which was just like, Darmy's been dead for since the beginning of this route, and honestly, I haven't even noticed because I had just. There are certain characters in the game that I just had to start tuning out. It's just like, okay, yeah, no, like everyone else
They
will be
exist.
having a conversation, and then Darmy's character sprite comes up, and she's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna make a joke about killing games again. Okay, yeah, cool. On to the next
Average
person,
Danganronpa
please.
fan.
Um,
Next person is Gaku.
uh,
Oh,
um,
thank God, Shoma's here. But yeah, we wanted to go through our first experience and our first route because like that really captures a good portion of your time with the game and like your introduction to
I
routes and characters as a concept. So I
I
wanted
do
to say,
feel
did you
like
want
for
to?
me
Uh-huh.
personally, like, and I would say like I think for me personally, those initial choices, that first route, are probably the choices I feel like I would have made if I was in the main character's shoes.
Right.
Um, you know, that's
I think
probably
I
like,
agree.
and you know, I'll explain a little more of like why I kind of was satisfied with the ending, because it's like, while you didn't get much while you didn't get much in terms of lore drop, it didn't just fulfill like only Flame Boy's promise, but I think that is a route where Nozomi lives as well, which was like the big thing for the main character. Is his whole thing is like, if I go back in time, I need to make sure that Nozomi survives this time. And so it really
Right.
was a nice, like, okay, we've actually fulfilled most of our
Conditions we
protagonist
set aside.
goals. Yeah.
Yep. There's just a lot of questions, and not everyone survived, but hey, not bad, not bad.
I think
Could be worse.
I think
Could
you
be a
know,
lot worse.
do we actually have like more deaths in this route than in first scenario? I think it's at the very least equal.
I think there's actually less deaths. Because I'm pretty sure like most characters survive, like even like Moko and stuff in second scenario in this one.
Moko survives, but Darumi dies, Shoma dies, Sirei, Nigo, and Ava die.
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't counting Sirei and Nigo, and I also literally forgot about Shoma dying.
they get off
genuinely
screened
forgot.
as well.
That's so funny. Yeah, it definitely does the Fire Emblem Fates does that too, where it's like, yeah, the character died off screen. See, you can't have a perfect route after all. You have to really work for it if you want a route where everyone survives. Gee, I hope there's something like that.
We'll come back to how I feel about this ending now, because I will definitely say one thing this game does very, very well is information in other routes will like very much color how you feel about certain routes later on.
Oh yeah, the most important like aspect of this game, I would even say, is that because all these routes share continuity, like they're all different, timelines, they're all different parallel routes, but this is the same world. The lore is the same. So like things you learn in one route can completely 180 your perspective on another. Oh, this was a happy ending, and then you come back to it later and you're like, oh God, they don't know. They don't know about the frickin' shish kebab squid alien that like, I don't know, like eats your soul or something. They don't know about the giant robot.
I want to say that James is not just making stuff up. This is an actual thing.
They don't know about the underground time squid. That one's made up. But like there are just huge plot revelations in other fruits that totally shift your perspective. Some of them are plot twists, and then some of them are like, darn, if the characters only knew about this one simple solution, this whole other route wouldn't have happened.
Why didn't Takumi simply just ask for Hiroko to cut him in half, and for Takamaru to throw him at the enemy?
Why did they all hold hands and believe in each other and just use their aura power up?
Why didn't they all hold hands and just believe in each other?
Yeah. There's lots of wonderful stuff like that. But for the moment, Carter, would you like to take a quick break, and then we can come back and do the tier list?
Yes.